Good evening, everyone. I hope you're having a peaceful night. Today, we're going to walk through a story that isn't loud, dramatic, or full of chaos, but one that touches the heart of anyone who has ever loved, been hurt, or longed for a place to call home. This is the story of Alex, a man who once hit rock bottom in the business world, who was betrayed, who lost his company, his trust, and almost lost himself. And it's also the story of Tuna, the woman who quietly stayed by his side. No big words, no promises wrapped in gold, just honesty, simple homemade meals, and a warm pair of arms where he could cry when everything became too much. When the world turned its back on him, she stayed. When friends walked away, she was the one holding his hand. When everyone doubted him, she was the only one who still believed. And in those darkest days, there was something else, something almost magical. Little Henry, a baby just learning to walk with tiny steps that somehow carried more healing power than anything else. Today, you'll witness a truly special moment, Alex carrying Henry to bed, then stepping back out to the porch to sit beside Tuna, a place where two tired hearts found peace again. A place where old wounds slowly faded and a new family began under the warm glow of a small farmhouse light. Watch until the end, because the moment Alex turns to Tuna and says, "I can breathe again," because you're here, you'll understand why genuine love can truly save a person, and why sometimes a quiet evening on a porch is enough to soothe an entire lifetime of storms. That afternoon, the sky was covered with a thin layer of golden clouds, and the last bit of sunlight slipped through the bamboo trees in front of the farm, spreading across the yard like streaks of honey. The air was so peaceful that the moment Mrs. Min stepped out of the car, she paused. Her eyes followed the neat rows of vegetables, the green squash vines climbing up their trellis, and the small wooden house sitting in the clean open yard. She didn't say anything, but the slight curve of her lips felt like she had just set down a worry she'd been carrying for a long time. From the kitchen, Tuna hurried out to the porch the second she heard Alex's car stop. Her hands were still dusted with flour from baking her hair, tied back, her face glowing with the warm slant of the afternoon sun. When her eyes met Mrs. Min's, her smile softened, gentle and genuine, like the last sunlight brushing against a light breeze. "You're here, Mom." "I've been waiting," she said softly, warmly. Mrs. Min chuckled, smoothing her sleeve. "Your place is beautiful. It's so clean it looks newly built. I thought farms were messy." Alex closed the car door and walked over, teasing, "I told you, Mom, wherever Tuna is, that place becomes home." Tuna's face turned bright red. She quickly bent down to pick up a towel on the porch, as if to hide her shyness, though the smile at the corner of her lips gave her away. Out in the yard, little Henry was holding a tiny wooden basket, his chubby legs wobbling as he took slow steps across the smooth ground. The moment Mrs. Min saw him, she immediately opened her arms. "Come here, Henry. How many steps can you take today?" Henry wobbled forward and fell right into her arms. His bright laughter mixed with her warm laugh, making the whole house feel like it lit up by another shade of joy. Watching them, Tuna's heart melted. She went back into the kitchen to continue preparing dinner. The warm yellow light reflected on her face, giving her a simple, soft beauty. Alex followed her in, rolling up his sleeves and standing by the sink to wash vegetables. "I have to make something really good for your mom today," Tuna said, as she gently tasted the soup. Alex looked at her with pride he didn't bother hiding. "I know. Everything you cook tastes amazing. That's why I brought Mom here to show her what you can do." Tuna glanced at him, cheeks turning even redder than the kitchen light. Alex chuckled and leaned closer, whispering, "Mom said, a daughter-in-law has to know how to cook." She burst into laughter and lightly hit his shoulder. "So, you brought her here to test me. Is that it?" "Yep," Alex winked. "To see if you qualify to be her daughter-in-law." Tuna turned away, but the soft smile on her lips didn't disappear. The sound of the chopping board, the sizzle of oil, Alex washing vegetables, Tuna's quiet laughter, everything blended into a kind of peaceful music. Alex realized he hadn't heard in a very long time. Outside, on the porch, Henry was trying to walk again, this time farther. His tiny hands reached out for balance, his shaky legs taking one step at a time. Mrs. Min stayed behind him, not holding him, just keeping her arms ready. "Good job. Keep going, my little man," she cheered. Henry giggled and once again fell into her arms. His laughter echoed through the farm, carrying a warmth that even the wind slowed down, for as if not to disturb the moment. From the kitchen, Alex looked out the window. Seeing his mother, holding Henry, hearing the baby laugh, the bamboo rustling, it all felt like a beautiful memory he never had. His chest tightened, not from pain, but from realizing that the thing he'd been chasing all these years wasn't success or money. It was this, a family, and it was right here in front of him. Tuna was reaching for spices when Alex stepped behind her and gently tied back the strand of hair falling onto her shoulder. "Let me help. Don't want it getting in the way," he said quietly, voice low and sincere. Tuna froze for a second, her breath slowing. She realized the small things he did no longer carried distance. They felt like gestures from a man who saw this place as home and saw her as someone he wanted to build a future with. "Thank you," she whispered. Alex lowered his voice even further, the words touching her in a way she felt more than heard. "Thank you for turning this place into somewhere my mom can smile, where I can breathe again, and where Henry can take his first steps in the arms of someone who loves him." Tuna turned around. Their eyes met. They didn't need to say anything more. Everything was already there in the way they looked at each other. When dinner was ready, Tuna set each dish on the wooden table outside the porch. The smell of sour soup, caramelized pork, and stir-fried vegetables, mixed with the faint scent of wood smoke, warming the entire yard under the soft golden porch light. Mrs. Min carried Henry to the table and sat him in a little chair. "I haven't had a home-cooked meal like this in a long time. I'm so happy today," she said with a smile. Alex glanced at Tuna. She was standing there adjusting a bowl, her face glowing under the light. He smiled, really smiled. No forcing, no hiding. The meal was simple, but the warmth around the table felt extraordinary. The clinking of chopsticks, Henry's babbling, Mrs. Min's laughter, the bamboo leaves rustling in the wind, and in the middle of all of it, Alex knew this was what was worth fighting for, worth protecting, worth beginning again, a family he thought he had lost long ago, now returning to him in the softest, most beautiful way, right here under this little porch roof. Dinner ended in a warm, lingering atmosphere, the kind no one wanted to leave. Henry was still babbling, his tiny hands gripping the hem of Alex's shirt, as if begging for just a little more playtime. A light mist had settled outside, and the breeze carried a hint of evening chill. Tuna stood up to take the baby inside, but Alex gently touched her hand. "Let me take him. You stay here and talk with Mom for a bit." Tuna looked surprised, but didn't say anything. Her expression softened as she watched Alex bend down to pick Henry up. The little boy buried his face against Alex's neck, smiling wide. "Ba, ba." The word wasn't fully formed yet, but it was enough to stop Alex in his tracks. His heart skipped, and he held Henry closer, burying his face in the baby's soft hair, still warm with the scent of milk and the last bit of afternoon sun. Mrs. Min watched quietly from her seat, her eyes lighting up, surprised, moved, and just a little proud, as if she had just rediscovered something she thought she'd lost. Alex turned to Tuna and smiled. "You two talk. I'll take this little troublemaker inside where it's warm." Then he walked toward the house, Henry in his arms, his steps steady but slow, almost as if he wanted to stretch out the moment. The warm light from the living room spilled out onto the porch, casting a long, gentle shadow of father and son on the wall. The door closed softly outside. There was only the sound of crickets, the bamboo swaying in the night breeze, and the warm yellow porch light falling across the faces of the two women sitting together. Tuna poured a cup of hot tea for Mrs. Min. The scent of young tea leaves blended with dried pomelo flowers, making the night feel even more tender, as if any remaining distance between them had quietly disappeared. Mrs. Min looked toward the door that had just closed, then turned back to Tuna. Her smile was small, but full of sincere gratitude. That little one. The way he smiled when he said "ba" for the first time. Tuna lowered her head, her fingers lacing together in her lap. "Yes. I've always known that when Alex is around, Henry feels safe." Mrs. Min nodded slowly. She looked at Tuna for a long moment, her aging eyes holding far more than words could express. "You know, Alex has always been strong, so strong that he sometimes forgets he's human, that he gets tired, sad, hurt. He won't talk about it, but as his mother I know. Everything he went through hurt him more than he lets on." Tuna stared at the wooden table, her voice dropping. "I know. That's why I want to stay beside him, even when he's at his weakest." Mrs. Min placed her hand gently on Tuna's. Her hand was warm, a little shaky, but full of sincerity. "Thank you." Tuna's head lifted, surprised. "Why are you thanking me?" Mrs. Min exhaled softly, her gaze drifting to the house where Alex was now playing with Henry. Their silhouettes flickered behind the glass window under the soft golden light. "Thank you for staying with him when everything fell apart. Thank you for letting him cry, letting him be vulnerable, letting him just be a person. You helped him in ways that even I couldn't." Tuna froze. Her heart warmed instantly. "Mom, I didn't do anything big. I just love him, and that Mrs. Min smiled gently is why you've done more than you realize. A breeze drifted across the porch, carrying the earthy scent left behind by the afternoon rain. From inside, Henry's laughter burst through the quiet, a bright, crisp sound that made both women smile at the same time as if an invisible thread connected them. Mrs. Min looked at Tuna, her tone slow but certain. If one day Alex decides it's time to start a family, I truly hope you'll be the one standing beside him. Tuna froze, her heartbeat stumbling. She looked at Mrs. Min, unable to form words, only her eyes shimmering with emotion. From inside, Alex's voice rang out, "Henry, you can't keep throwing that on the floor. Daddy gives up." Mrs. Min let out a soft laugh. Tuna laughed with her, a laugh full of emotion, and in that moment, under the porch light, the two women, a mother, and the woman her son loves, quietly shared a gentle, deeply grounded happiness, as if the whole world outside no longer mattered compared to the sound of a father and son laughing inside that small, warm house. Inside the small house, Henry had finally played himself tired. His tiny hands were still gripping the collar of Alex's shirt, his soft little head resting on Alex's shoulder, like he was searching for familiar warmth. Alex gently rubbed his back, each slow stroke soothing him like a quiet lullaby. "Henry, time to sleep, buddy," he whispered, his voice softening. The little boy answered with a tiny sigh, his eyes drifting shut, his mouth still moving, as if he was talking in his dreams. Alex carried him to the bedroom and laid him on the small mattress covered with a cream cotton blanket. He pulled the bedding up to Henry's chest and fixed the corner so it stayed neat. Henry shifted a little, then grabbed Alex's finger and held on tight. The moment made Alex's heart melt like wax under a flame. He leaned down and kissed Henry's forehead. "Daddy's here." Always. Slowly, Henry's tiny hand loosened. His breathing settled soft and steady like a quiet breeze. Alex stood there for a few more seconds. That peacefulness made him feel small in the best way, like every storm outside suddenly didn't matter anymore. This moment alone was enough reason to keep going. He closed the door, gently afraid to wake the baby. As he stepped out onto the porch, the warm yellow light hit his eyes. The night breeze carried the scent of hot tea and the faint smell of dried orange blossoms from the cup Mrs. Min had left on the table. She had gone inside to wash dishes, leaving Tuna alone on the porch. Her hands were clasped together, her gaze lost in the dim garden, where the hanging lights still flickered softly. When Tuna heard the door open, she turned. The porch light caught her cheek, making her look so gentle and warm that it almost made Alex want to reach out. He walked over and sat down beside her, close enough that their warmth blended. "He's asleep," Alex said quietly. Already, Tuna tilted her head, smiling like a thin crescent moon. He was exhausted. He made me do cow sounds, pig sounds, chicken sounds. Honestly, I didn't know Henry could be that cruel. Tuna laughed softly. Her laughter wasn't loud, but it was enough to brighten something inside Alex. A moment later, neither of them spoke. Only the sound of bamboo rustling, crickets chirping, and the porch light glowing above them. Alex leaned slightly toward her, his voice lower, like it was meant only for her. "You know, it's been a long time since I felt this peaceful." Tuna didn't answer right away. She looked down at her hands, then glanced at him and asked quietly, "Because of Henry? Or because of me?" Alex didn't hesitate. No dodging, no pause. "Because of you." Tuna froze for a moment, her eyes widening, glimmering like she had just heard something sacred. Alex continued slower but certain. "You didn't just help me survive the hard stuff. You made me want to be a better man. For Henry, for my mom, and for you." A breeze swept across the porch, blowing a few strands of Tuna's hair against Alex's face. He gently tucked them behind her ear, a gesture that felt natural, like he'd done it 100 times before. Tuna lowered her gaze, whispering, "After you say something like that, what am I supposed to say back?" Alex looked at her for a long moment. "You don't have to say anything. Just sit here with me, like this, and that's enough." Tuna smiled, soft as a breath. She leaned her head against his shoulder. Alex tilted his head too, letting his forehead rest against her hair. Inside the house, Henry slept peacefully. In the kitchen, Mrs. Min washed dishes with a quiet smile. And on the porch, the two of them sat together. No confessions, no grand words, but everything between them already understood. The night passed slowly, gentle like a lullaby. And in that moment, under the warm porch light, Alex knew he was no longer the man who had fallen apart. He was beginning again, with the woman resting on his shoulder and the family forming right in front of him.
Trái tim khép kín quá lâu như Tuna có thể mở ra để đón nhận sự chân thành này. Hãy cùng tôi